People, so I got some time to kill.
What? Good bitch, hey boo.
He's always got to get into the video. But anyway, what I've got here is a project rifle that started 3 years ago. It fires, it functions, it's a tack driver, but I'm far from finished on it. And then what I've got there is the new V3 Field Sporter 24-inch Remington semi-auto. We'll get to that one in a second. This guy here is a Remington 700 SPS-AAC. A little bit of information on that. When you look up the rifle, you're going to find it as the Remington Tactical. Some people actually have it listed as the SPS-AAC. But essentially, the rifle will come in either 308, 300 Blackout, or 223. It's the only three calibers I've seen offered in. And they are either going to be in a green, OD green, or black Hogue overmold stock. When I got the rifle, took it out of the box, I knew that I was not going to keep the factory stock. It wasn't something I had in my mind. I wanted to build something kind of to my liking and the type of style that I wanted. But when I shouldered the rifle with the factory stock, the Hogue stock, to me it felt a little muzzle heavy. And that was even just with the 20-inch barrel that you see. It's a carbon steel bull barrel, 1-10 twist rate. Threaded muzzle, 5/8 by 24-inch thread pattern. So, ordered the stock from Chile, got my scope ordered, and the idea behind this customization, if you will, was to build it how I saw fit with the least amount of money. Least amount of money not being so much as least quality. What do I mean by least quality? As far as 3 years ago, looking at different stock options for aftermarket OEM for Remington 700s, Chole was the best in reviews, plus talking to a few people that have Chole stocks, swear by it, as well as with this stock from the beginning of the forend to just in front of the trigger guard. It's all one piece billet aluminum V-bedding. It's a V-block, so it's notched out. There's hardly any play between the recoil lug and where the notch for the recoil lug. When I took the calipers to it, there was less than 1/1000th of an inch from the thickness of the recoil lug to where that was notched out. If you wanted to get fancy, you could use a bedding compound and sit there and fill in very thin, wait for it to dry, stand it down to see if you can get it to literally just be a perfect fit. But let's face it, it's a project gun. It is a tack driver from the setup that it is now. So I don't see any, personally myself, I don't see any reason of why I would want to go that extra step. It kind of defeats the purpose of what I was going to do. Again, this is kind of just something to cure the time of the winter months and not much else going on. So to kind of not keep going on and on and on about this, that is a Harris bipod. I did try going with a Blackhawk cheapy $30 tripod, and that just sucked balls. There was way too much play from where the bipod mounted up onto the front end, the forend rather, of the stock. And underneath, if we can get this to go under, I don't know how well that's going to show. You can see where it has an aluminum track. And that is, if you need to get elevation or reduce elevation, and say your scope's doped all the way out, you have no more adjustments, you can at least get the elevation from from adjusting your bipod. I've never had to use it. There's nowhere around here that I'm shooting that far, but I have seen people that have this same rifle and they're ordering the one-piece 20 OMA, or wow, 20 MOA scope bases. Some are even going 30 MOA. In the 308, that's a little stretching it. But that's about it. One thing that I can say that I did have a little, not an issue or a problem with, is the bolt cutout. When I mounted this up and went to close the bolt, it would only go to about there. And it still has that little bit of movement. Obviously, it's locked, but that could, in the long run, damage the locking lugs on the front of the bolt, cause, possibly different pressure within the chamber. Just bad news. It's not right. Didn't run it. But what I did do is use the black marker and marked on there to where the bolt was hitting so it would rub off. And then I just took a Havilon Piranha, which is, yes, a hunting knife, but it is pretty much a surgical scalpel. And little by little, removed the material until the space was perfect. It's still a little messy. It's nothing pretty. She's not a, trophy piece by any means. But it works. It functions. It works. So that's enough of that, I suppose. But I did forget. I keep lying. The AAC. Okay, they are a suppressor company. Remington had acquired the company, and they designed this rifle to be run suppressed. Well, in New York State, even anything that looks scary, it's evil, and they have to ban it because we're run by a bunch of liberal fucking Democrats that are a bunch of morons that don't even understand anything about a firearm. To some, this is a barrel shroud. It's the thing that goes up and over the shoulder. Carolyn McCarthy, thank God she's not in office anymore. But I'm not going to go on a political rant. I've said enough. So I do have a Roush muzzle brake that I installed. It is 5/8 to 24 thread pattern, and there was no crush washer required. And the finish from the company, I mean, it almost matches right up with Remington. Looks like it was factory installed. Absolutely phenomenal. I enjoy taking it out to the range, just throwing lead. It's an enjoyable little build, and I'm happy with it. Some people are like, hey, it's a piece of shit, or whatever. Hey, to each their own. Now to get to this little guy, which is the Remington V3 Field Sporter model with 24-inch smoothbore barrel. Still a little iffy on this shotgun, and what I mean by iffy, the concept of the V3 was supposed to be the poor man's Versamax, or the working man's Versamax. You can get behind this shotgun on a good day anywhere between 530 to just over 600. Versamax, their entry level, which is all black synthetic, not camoed, you can get behind that for upper 6s, lower 7s. So, I mean, $200, yeah, I mean, that's a nice chunk of change. Unless we hit the lottery, or it is what it is. But, yeah, I'm sorry, to me, $200, that's a substantial amount of money when you're comparing different platforms of firearms, what you're going to be using it for, what the reviews are, so on and so forth. So, I put my order in with Remington, got this guy 3 weeks later. Took it out and had some issues with it cycling. Brought it right back to Remington. It took about a month for them to fix it and then got it back to me. So I'm not saying that all V3s are going to be broke or you're going to have an issue with it, because whatever the issue was, I don't remember off the top of my head, that the work order form is in my safe. But whatever they did, the gun is now perfect. My one pet peeve that I have with the gas system, if you look at the forend, I call them the shark gills, and they are angled back towards the shooter. Not so much an issue if you're shooting and you're waiting a couple seconds, and you take another shot, so on and so forth. But just for shits and giggles, I wanted to see how fast this gas system was compared to the Versamax. Another con for this gas system is it's not self-cleaning like the Versamax model is. And right in the owner's manual of the V3, it says if you do not keep it clean, that you will have cycling issues. Well, it makes sense, but it doesn't. Like, why would you want to make this a working man's version of the Versamax, but yet not kind of incorporate some of the operating system technology that you have in the Versamax into the V3? You came up with a whole new one. And what happens when you're taking rapid shots? I wanted to figure it out for myself. So I loaded her up with 3-inch Federal Premium Magnum turkey shells in number 5. Shot 4 times in succession, 3 in the tube, 1 in the chamber. And by the 3rd shot, I was getting splashback. Now, what do I mean by splashback? If anybody's confused, it's the same thing that you get when you're shooting a revolver. It's just that hot gas that expands out from the cylinder, hits the recoil lug, and it splashes back in your face. This gas system does the same thing. So I brought that up to one of the engineers that were responsible for the design and implementation of the V3, and he didn't have any idea what splashback was. And he explained to me the reason why the gas port is on the top, like you can see, and directed backwards, is because when they did the torture testing and used the slow motion cameras on the wooden forend, the original gas system was ported forward, and that was cracking the forend. On the synthetic, which this is, when it was ported forward, they were getting material flex, but it wasn't compromising the integrity of the material, but it would flex it. So they came up with that resolution. Okay, now I could understand from that point if it's ported backwards, that can help with the reduction of recoil somewhat. If they had it ported straight up, maybe perhaps it would cause the muzzle to drop to where it's not as quick on follow-up shots if you're, say, goose hunting or duck hunting. And if it was ported forward, the only way they could do it would be inside the stock. There's gotta be something else that they're missing. From conception to when the firearm or the shotgun was actually out to market was a year, maybe just over a year. Now, I'm not talking shit about Remington. They've been attacked by the lefts and everything else, and going after Bushmaster, and then they had the huge layoffs, and Bushmaster went down to Alabama, and a bunch of airlines went down to Alabama, leaving New York, and that's a whole another topic for a whole another day. But I remember when every manufacturer wanted to be a Remington. They looked up to Remington. The 700 is the most popular and is the iconic bolt action of our country. You can agree or you can disagree, but that is just a fact. The 700 and the 870 has sold more of each model than any other manufacturer that's out there. And it just seems now, instead of going back to the quality control of yesteryears, they're just looking at pushing it out to get the most new models out to market than the other manufacturer. But the reason they can do that is because they're sending out, in my opinion, a subpar platform. It is what it is. I'm not going to trash talk or badmouth the V3, because that is really the only con that I have with the V3 is the porting of the gas system. Outside of that, threw a Bushnell micro red dot on the top, and it's phenomenal, especially with 1 ounce rifled slugs. Out of this barrel with the modified choke, the Federal Premium 1 ounce slugs. She's a friggin' tack driver at 75 yards. Cleaning, it's a little in-depth. There's a lot of shit you gotta do. You gotta drop out the whole trigger assembly and clean all the good stuff. I do the same thing with my Benelli anyway, but the Benelli is a hell of a lot easier than the V3. So, it is what it is, and I am about out of time here. So, hopefully you're not seasick from the shaking, or testing out the new phone, or just wasting your time shooting the shit about these two little guys here. So I'll check you guys later, and have fun.